Welcome to Sporting News' AFL Preliminary Final Preview, presented by Double. I'm Kieran Francis, and joining me is 2008 Brownlow medalist, a man who bleaches his hair way too many times, Adam Cooney.
I think some of that bleach is soaked into my brain, unfortunately.
We'll get straight into the first preliminary final. Friday night, MCG, Collingwood GWS, 95,000 rabid Collingwood fans, you'd think, maybe 500 GWS fans.
Yeah.
What are your initial thoughts on the game?
Well, I think they might get 1,000 GWS fans there. They had a fair little contingent at the Adelaide Oval last week.
I heard a rumour that they actually paid some people to...
Really? Rent a crowd?
Yeah, for the St Kilda game. I did hear that.
Right.
So, yeah, he's they're doing that.
The neutrals generally jump on board the Orange Tsunami at this time of year, and why not? They're playing some awesome footy. They're going to be really hard to stop. It's similar to the Western Bulldogs in 2016, this run that they're on at the moment.
Got the same vibe?
Yeah, the same vibe. They're just up and about. They smacked around Port Adelaide in contested ball clearances and how they actually played last week. So I think it's going to be a good duel. Collingwood are a different beast to Port Adelaide at the MCG. You're right. There's going to be 90,000 plus Collingwood supporters there. It's going to be an intense environment for GWS, but I think they're up for the challenge.
We're going to talk about Toby Greene. He's the man on everyone's lips. He's been a star, but he's become a real bona fide star at the moment. Interestingly, he hasn't actually played Collingwood this year because he was injured, and he didn't actually play them in the 2019 prelim win, which was when GWS beat Collingwood, because he was suspended. So he hasn't actually played Collingwood a huge amount. How do you see his impact on the game? Who do you think will play on him?
I think Maynard will get the job on him, and won't that be a blockbuster battle? Two hard nuts, two seriously talented players that don't take a backward step. I love Toby Greene. I love everything about him. He's got a bit of a spunk about the way he lives his life, and he's a lot more professional now, but quite often he is the spark that gets them going. And if he kicks goals early, then look out. I think it's going to be a pretty intense battle between Maynard and Greene. I reckon Toby will kick a couple. He generally kicks, 2 on a bad day, and it can be 5 or 6 on a really good day. If he kicks 5 or 6, well, the Giants could march into a grand final.
Well, mate, he's actually only kicked 1 goal in Maynard in 142 minutes.
Is that right?
And he kicked 5 on Quaynor in 55 minutes, but I think it was when Quaynor was a bit younger and not as good a one-on-one player now. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. We all know Toby would have kicked a bag on you if you were playing in the back line back in the day. But if you were playing, what would you do to try to stop Toby?
Oh, anyone would have kicked a bag on me if I was playing in the back line. What would I have done to try and stop Toby Greene? I'd be as nice to him as possible, because I think when he gets fired up and the opposition gets stuck into him, that's when he goes to another level. So I'd try and kill him with kindness. Maybe just have a little joke, geez, you're on fire today, Toby, and maybe that could rattle him. But what I would really like to do is probably get someone else to play in front of him as well, so we have a spare number back, and then I'd just maybe get someone else to cover off and then just run off.
For those wanting to have a double, Toby Greene is paying $1.35 for 2+ goals, and for 3+ goals he's paying $2.15, and he's actually kicked 2+ goals in 20 of his last 23 games. So there's some good value there. Collingwood, Nick Daicos, he's the man, second-year player. You're a number 1 draft pick coming through, similar to Daicos. How is he doing what he's doing with all the pressure on him coming through?
Well, he's the ultimate professional. That's why. Complete opposite to me when I was a number 1 draft pick coming into the system. So he knew that he was going to play early on and got his body right, he's got his mind right, he's an ultimate pro. Having said that, a few weeks out, you lose that match fitness. So whether or not he's going to be underdone, I'm not too sure. He would have done everything he possibly can to keep that fitness up, but you just can't replicate that sort of match fitness, particularly in a prelim final. So he's not going to be at his best. Hopefully that knee is fine, he's pain-free, but he's not going to be 100% fit in terms of that hardened match fitness. So don't expect Nick Daicos to go out there and get 40 disposals. Might be 39.
Putting the Coons coaching hat back on, would you shut him down, like say for example Hawthorn did with Finn McGuinness, or would you just go head-to-head and try to expose him that way?
I'd see how he's going and how he's tracking early on. I probably wouldn't put a hard tag on him to start. I think it just see how it plays out. If he's getting on top and if he has 10 disposals in the first quarter, you might have to look to clamp down on him. But the Giants have got a pretty handy midfield. The Collingwood players are going to have to be on their game. You watched them run riot last week, and that's how they can play. They've got Cal Ward in there, he's unbelievable. Cornelio was on fire and kicked a couple of goals. They've got Josh Kelly, who's a smooth mover, and big Kieran Briggs. So it's a formidable midfield. So maybe Collingwood will have to clamp down on Cornelio or Josh Kelly at some stage.
You mentioned the quality of the GWS midfield. There's no Ryan Crowley or Matt De Boer in there to tag Daicos. So it'll be interesting to see if they do that. Daicos, if you want to have a double, 30+ disposals, $1.67. and if 35 disposals, 325. He's actually got 8 out of 20 games. He's hit 35 this season, which is, he's a second-year player. It's incredible.
Just unbelievable. And he would have stormed home and won the Brownlow if he didn't get injured. He may hold on, but I think he might get pipped with a couple of rounds to go.
If Collingwood are going to win the game, what's the key for them?
That kamikaze sort of style that they play the best. It's just a hard running. It's an impressive style because it's good to watch. They also, I mean, they've got great defenders and they defend really well behind the footy. But I think Collingwood, when they're at their best, they take the game on. It's going to be tough against GWS because they like to play that fast brand as well. There could be some quick goals scored on turnover if they don't use the ball particularly well, but they haven't been at their best for a while in terms of that style of play, which was so good in the first half of the year. So they need to get back to that and take the Giants on at their own game. We saw Collingwood win against Melbourne with only about, I think it was 33 inside 50s, and they did struggle to move the ball. Melbourne obviously didn't punish them the other way. Do you think that if Collingwood play sort of similarly that they'll be in trouble in the prelim? Yeah, well, they need to get it inside 50 more than 35 times. There's no doubt about that. And that's when you go back to playing that way, taking the risks and not going into your shell. They do need to go faster, attack a little bit more to get it in there. The Melbourne are a really good defensive team, so they do stop and limit entries inside 50. GWS will give up a few more than what Melbourne did, but they could hurt you on the way back.
On the GWS side, if they're to win the game, what's their key?
Well, exactly what they've done in the back end of the year. But they are so hard to stop. I mean, we spoke about the midfield just before, but how rock solid they are in defence. They've got great intercept markers. I mean, Buckley was terrific last week. Taylor's had an amazing year. Iden and Himmelberg back there. So if you bomb the ball into those guys, they'll just drop off, intercept, and then give the ball to Lachie Whitfield, and away they go. Again, a huge game. In that second final from Lachie Whitfield. So they've got good runners, take the game on. They cut up Port Adelaide through the middle of the ground and smashed them in clearances last week, which they haven't been great at clearances all year, the Giants, but they play like they did on the weekend. Look out, Collingwood.
If you want to have a dabble on the head-to-head odds, Collingwood are $1.55 favourites and GWS are $2.45. Who do you like in the head-to-head market and what's your prediction for the game?
Oh, it is a tough one. It can go either way. I mean, Collingwood have been the best team for the majority of the year, but the Giants are in the best form at the moment and riding this wave. I want to tip the Giants, but cowardly, I'm going to go with Collingwood to make it through the grand final. But I wouldn't be surprised if GWS won. Is that sitting on the fence enough?
I reckon that's a good enough answer.
Okay.
On Saturday night, we've got Brisbane versus Carlton at the Gabba. Michael Voss returning up to Brisbane. Saturday twilight game. What are your initial thoughts on the game?
Might be tough for Carlton in this one. Again, terrific form leading in. Who would have thought that the Blues would be in a prelim final after the midway point of the year? Incredible coaching to be able to turn it around mid-season, and they've got some good buy-in from their bottom 6 to 8 players who traditionally have let them down in the past. This is why they're playing so well at the moment, because they're getting buy-in from every single player. Brisbane's defence is good, Brisbane's midfield are good, and they've got the most potent forward line in the competition, and they play well at the Gabba. It's going to be a monumental effort if Carlton get up there and win.
Speaking of Brisbane's forward line, Big Joe Daniher, a player you actually played with at Essendon. He's had his second best season kicking goals, 56 goals, and he kicked 5 in the qualifying final against Port. Tell me about Joe's development when you were there, and what do you think he can bring to the game?
He's always been a star, Joe. What I love about him is just a really relaxed, laid-back character. He doesn't let football take over his life. I reckon he lives in Byron Bay. So he travels 2 hours to training because he just wants to get as far away from the football lifestyle as possible. But he's an immense talent and he's putting it all together at the right time. We've seen him kick big goals in the past, multiple goals, and looks like he's got his goal kicking. He's kicking reasonably straight. So if him and Eric Hipwood have a big afternoon, then the Brisbane Lions will win, and I think they might win comfortably.
Is it a simple case of sending Carlton's best defender Wiedering to Daniher or possibly McGovern? Who do you think will get the match up?
Yeah, I think Wiedering should take Daniher. I know he likes to play a little bit closer to goal, but they can just swap it over and who knows. McGovern's been in reasonable form as well, but you give the best forward the job on the best defender the best job on the good forwards.
If you want to have a dabble on Joe Daniher, to kick 2+ goals is $1.35, 3+ goals $2.15. He's actually kicked 2+ in 6 of his last 8, so he could be ready to have a big stamp on this final. Moving across to Carlton, Sam Walsh, what a performance in the semi-final. We know he's a great player. there's been that age-old discussion about if he or Connor Rosie's better. I might ask you that as well. Surely you see a bit of Adam Cooney in Sam Walsh in his development. What have you made of his career progress so far, and what impact can he have on the game?
Yeah, he runs a bit harder than me, Sam Walsh. A good Joey's boy too, down the Geelong region. So, again, similar to Nick Dacos, just an ultra professional, and what he's been able to do over the first two finals, he's in the best form of anyone in terms of midfielders that's out there for the four teams at the moment. So and going forward and kicking goals too. I think we undersell or undervalue the players and the midfielders that can do that. To kick two big goals on the weekend and have 34 disposals, he's in great form. You can't tag him really. I mean, you can try, but he will just keep running and running and running. So if you are going to send someone to him, you better be prepared to run your boots off.
In previous years, it was so often Paddy Cripps carrying Carlton's midfield. Do you think that that's the main reason why Carlton is so successful now, because they've got such a wide mix through the midfield? Or do you think it's another part of their structure or even the coach?
Well, the midfield's got a lot to do with it. Like, there wasn't a lot of support around Paddy Cripps for a while, and then traded really well with Chera and Hewitt coming in, who provide big bodies and support around Cripps. So he doesn't have to get 35, 40 disposals and kick 3 goals anymore. He can have an impact like he did last week with others, flourishing around him. So a good midfield is the key. There's no doubt about that. And good forwards. Like their forwards are firing. Charlie Curnow's had a pretty quiet couple of weeks. So look out. I mean, you can't keep the big fella down for too long. Was he kicked 1 goal each in his last couple of weeks? So he's due for a bag.
If you want to have a dabble on Sam Walsh, 25 plus $1.25 disposals and 30 plus $1.98. So some good value there. If Brisbane are going to win the game, what's the key for them?
Yeah, it's matching the Blues in the middle of the ground and playing their natural game. So as I mentioned, really good players in each line, like Harris Andrews back there, midfielders are supreme, and then also they got the potent forward line. So they kick a couple of goals early and then get the crowd into it. I think Brisbane should be too strong for Carlton.
Do you think that there'll be any worries, any nerves if the game gets close heading into the third and last quarter? We obviously saw it during the COVID season. Brisbane didn't win the flag when the whole final series was played up at the Gabba. Do you think that could possibly be a factor, or do you think they're more mentally strong now and more thorough in their development?
Well, I think they're a pretty mature group and they've learnt from mistakes in the past. Having said that, it's happened. So if it is close at 3/4 time, there's just a little demon up in the head that the players will be thinking about, oh no, surely we don't blow this opportunity again, because then the heat will really be on. So, look, that's real. They've got to deal with that. Chris Fagan's been brilliant in actually addressing that and saying, look, we're not shying away from the fact that we have failed in these situations in the past. So they have confronted it. When it gets to that situation, though, everyone gets nervous.
And what about if Carlton win and get through to a grand final? What's the key for them? Imagine that, Carlton in the grand final.
Imagine if Carlton and Collingwood play in the grand final. It'll be the biggest grand final in the history of the game, and grand final tickets would be at a premium, no doubt about that. But if Carlton somehow were to get through, they're going to have huge days from Cripps. It's going to have to be another huge effort from Walsh. I think Curnow's got to kick 3 or 4, and then some good support around him. Who knows what they do with Mackay? He will play. Can he have a huge impact as well?
Double head-to-head odds, Brisbane are $1.38 and Carlton are $3.10. So Brisbane strong favourites, haven't lost at home all season. Who do you like in the head-to-head market? I mean, you've been strong in Brisbane winning, but what's your match prediction?
Yeah, Brisbane, I think if they play their best footy, will be too strong for Carlton. It could be, 3 or 4 goals.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.